Hello guys, a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to 21st Century IAS Academy online Indian economic classes. I think in yesterday's class we have already successfully completed the concept of Niti Aayog. From today onwards we are going to start a new chapter. So a very important chapter after the monetary policy, and a chapter where maximum number of questions apart from the monetary policy that we can expect, that is this chapter, taxation and fiscal system. Because monetary policy, more or less, actually we talk about the money supply, interest rates, RBI, etc., so on and so forth. But when it comes to the taxation chapter, this is where actually more real time economy that we are going to learn, because this taxation and fiscal system chapter, this is more related to the government itself, because every year we introduce something called budget. What is that budget? It is nothing but a combination of expenditure and income. Government of India, it spends lots of crores of rupees for the growth and development of this country. On an average daily the government is spending around 11,000 crore rupees. So each and every penny of this money has to be accounted, and of course it is accountable. And when it comes to this, what kind of policies that the government of India is introducing, and what is meant by revenue, what is meant by expenditure, what is meant by taxes, what is meant by non-taxes revenue. So all these things once we know, then only we can apprise or we can criticize the policies of the government. Because already I told you, to alleviate the poverty, to raise the employment levels, and to increase the education and literacy, to improve the health systems, the government of India is implementing so many programs in India. For all these programs we must allocate the resources. That allocation of resources is always done through budget, right? So this budget is introduced by the ruling government every year. Generally this happens in February to March and April. In these 3 months this happens. So in that particular things, what exactly this fiscal system means, what exactly this budget means, what budget includes, and the terminologies which are important related to this budget. And before that, what is exactly meant by taxes and taxation system, and what are the taxes in the Indian economy, and what is that names that we have given, classification of taxes, definitions, all these things we are going to learn in this chapter. So simple thing is, first in this chapter, first we will see about what exactly meant by a tax, and then different types of taxes, and then prominence or importance of taxes, right, and classification of taxes ila chustam. After that we will enter into the fiscal system. We will see what is meant by fiscal system, what are the objectives of fiscal system, and directly I will give you one diagram which is sufficient to understand the whole chapter. When it comes to the budget and fiscal system ki nenu oka diagram chupistanu meeku, that would be sufficient to learn everything. Okay, so in that particular context, without wasting the time, let us start this chapter, that is taxation and fiscal system. In that, the first important term that we are going to learn is taxation. What exactly meant by taxation? The definition here, it is telling, it is refers to the practice of a government collecting money from its citizens or a legal entities to pay for public services. First of all, what is meant by public services, we will come to know. The money is collected by imposing the taxes on individual or corporate entities. Tax is the basis for taxation. See, taxation is different and tax is different. Taxation is a much bigger word when relatively compare with the tax itself. So first of all, before you understand this, let us understand what is meant by public services. Okay, what is meant by public services? Public service is a service which is intended to serve all the members of a society. A public service is a service which is intended to serve all the members of the society. That's why if you tomorrow if you become an IAS officer, first you will be called as a public servant. Who is that public servant? A public servant is the one who gives these services which serve all the members of a society or a community. Generally these public services are usually provided by the government to the people who are living within the jurisdiction of that government, generally citizens. So what exactly meant by a public service? For example, you can say the following as public services: healthcare services, transport, or garbage removal, or providing public transport, or free education, right, and free drinking water, or basic amenities of life. All these things we can call all of these things as public services. And why actually public service is done with taxation? For example, let's say that you are living in a village, you are staying in one village, and that village is connected with a very bad road to another city. Okay, so now we have to lay down a road for the greater good of all the people in that village. అంటే ఒక village కి మనం రోడ్ వేయాలి ఇప్పుడు. ఎందుకు? Because for all those people. For example, as an individual, can you make that road? No. But if we all collectively, if we start giving the taxes to the government on behalf of all of us, for all of our services, on behalf of us, the government will lay down the road. And not only that, for example, for a city like Hyderabad, let's say drinking water is to be provided. So who will do that if it is not government? So government is nothing but what? We have some important collective things to be done for all of us to fulfill our basic amenities and to sustain our lives. There are some things which need to be fulfilled on a comprehensive scale. So for example, clean drinking water, or providing roads, or road congestions, or law and order, these things cannot be fulfilled by an individual. They have to be done by an authority. So that's why humans, when they started living in the colonies or the societies, they established something called as government. So what is the duty of the government? It is actually to provide the public services to the people. But how it can do? These people, they'll give some money to this government in terms of taxes. So with this taxation money, the government will try to provide all the public services that are required to the people. Are you getting the point? So taxation, it refers to the practice of a government collecting money from its citizens. Why it actually collect the money from its citizens? Because in return it will provide the services to the people. And why, how actually it will collect? It cannot be done voluntarily. అంటే ఎవరైతే సొసైటీలో కావాలని ఇవ్వాలని అనుకుంటున్నారో ట్యాక్సెస్ వాళ్ళు మాత్రమే ఇస్తారు, మిగిలిన వాళ్ళు కట్టరు అంటే ఎవడు ఇవ్వడు. సో కాబట్టి ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు బి ఇంపోజ్డ్. బట్ ఇంపోజ్డ్ ఆన్ ద బేసిస్ ఆఫ్ వాట్? ఇంపోజ్డ్ ఆన్ ద బేసిస్ ఆఫ్ లా, but not by arbitrary mechanisms, right? So in that case, taxation means what? It's a practice of the government collecting money from the taxes or legal entities, means companies, to pay for the public services. And this money is collected by imposing the taxes on individual or companies. And tax is nothing but it is the basis for taxation. And the next slide. So what exactly meant by a tax? Tax is nothing but what? It's a financial charge. But a financial charge imposed on individual or a company by a central government or state government. By a central government or state government. Getting the point? So in this particular point, tax is a financial charge which can be imposed by central government or state government. In India, we have three tiers of government. One is central government, state government. Third one is, what is the third one? Local government. We have a three-tier structure. Of course, all these three-tier structures, they have a separate independent way of taxing the people. అవి మనం విభజిస్తాం. ఒకటి సెంట్రల్ ట్యాక్సెస్ అంటాం, రెండోది స్టేట్ ట్యాక్సెస్ అంటాం, థర్డ్ వన్ we call it as local taxes. What are these things? We will come to know. Wait for that time. So here, what exactly tax means? It's a collected amount used for building the nation, to increase the arms and ammunition for defense of the country and for other welfare related works. That's just an example. So why actually we collect the taxes? Because once the taxed amount is pooled together, that amount would be so big, and this amount will be used by the government through different plan models, and it will effectively use this taxation money to bring the public services which are necessary for the people. That is what generally we call it as infrastructure. It may be the school buildings or hospitals or roads or airports or the ports or inland waterways, anything you call. So all these things have to be bring together for the greater good of the society. These are all the public services that must be constructed or that must be established. So this can only be fulfilled by a centralized authority. That centralized authority we generally call it as government. and we form that government through different means. In India, because it is a democratic country, we actually form that government through elections, right? So in that particular context, what is exactly a tax means? Tax is nothing but a financial charge, and tax is a collected amount used for building the nation. That's why there is one proverb: taxes are paid, nations are made. Nations are made actually. Taxes are paid, the nations are made. Getting the point? If you don't pay the taxes, the nation cannot be made. That's why what is the biggest problem in India? I'll tell you once we come to the income tax details and all. The number of people who are paying the income tax in this country is hardly 2 to 5% range. So how many people are there in this country? 135 crore people. Out of that, if you see, only 3 crore people, and it is around 130 crore into 3. I mean 3% of 130 crore. So around 4 crore to 5 crore people, maximum to maximum, they'll pay income tax. Because most of the people who are working in India, they're all in the unorganized sector. Unorganized sector people, you cannot impose income tax on those people. That's why the total number of the taxes that is collected by the government in India is very less. That is also one of the reasons why always the government says we have a very less amount of money to bring any infrastructure. If you go to United States and other countries, the taxes would be so high. We will talk about all these things: tax to GDP ratio, what is meant by tax to GDP ratio, how this is with other governments, I mean how this is compared with other countries, etc., a kind of things. Okay, so in that particular things here, the next slide is this: what exactly, how these taxes are levied. One is, taxes in India are levied by the center and the state governments. I already explained this. And some minor taxes, they are also levied by the local governments, that is your municipalities or corporations or panchayats for that matter. And the authority to levy a tax is actually derived from the constitution. So in UPSC, a kind of prelims questions may be asked in this particular genre, that according to which articles this taxation power is actually there. Are you getting the point? According to which articles that this taxation power is there. Like, the authority to levy a tax is derived from the Constitution of India, which allocates the power to levy various taxes between central and state governments. And for example, according to the articles of the Indian Constitution, central government, it has its own power and ambit to collect the taxes. At the same time, the state governments, they also have their own ambit to collect the taxes. Getting the point? So in that case, this is the one. An important restriction on this power is Article 265, which says that no tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. So alage, we have some lists: list 1, list 2, list 3. I'll also talk about. So each tax levied or collected has to be backed by a law, either passed by the parliament or the legislature. So in that case, one second guys, let me open this. See, Article 246, what it says: it distributes the legislative powers including taxation between the Parliament of India and the state legislatures. And the Schedule 7 enumerates these subject matters in the use of 3 lists. We have 3 lists, right? One is union list, another one is state list, third one is concurrent list. What is meant by union list? You must have heard about this in your polity class. A union list means the list on which the union government has the exclusive power to make the laws. State list means the list or the list of subjects on which the state governments has the exclusive power to make the laws. Concurrent list means both the state government and central government, they can make the laws, but if they clash each other, the central government law will prevail or the union government law will prevail. Central government ananakodu, union government ananali, the union government law will prevail. Isn't it so? So it is very much important to at least see these what you call lists, at least have ఒకసారి చదవండి. నాకు తెలిసి యూనియన్ లిస్ట్, కంకరెంట్ లిస్ట్ ఇవి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవడం చాలా కష్టం. యూనియన్ లిస్ట్లో 97 సబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఎన్నో ఉంటాయి, స్టేట్ లిస్ట్లో 56 ఎన్నో ఉంటాయి సబ్జెక్ట్స్. దే చేంజ్ వెరీ ఆఫెన్ ఫ్రమ్ టైమ్ టు టైమ్. సో కానీ కొన్ని చూసుకోండి, లైక్ అగ్రికల్చర్ కానీ, ఇరిగేషన్ కానీ. ఈవెన్ ఎస్టర్డే ఐ వాజ్ బిట్ నేను కూడా కొంచెం తడబడ్డాను ఆ అగ్రికల్చర్ ఏ లిస్టు అనేదానికి. స్టేట్ లిస్ట్దే ఫస్ట్ కంకరెంట్ లిస్ట్ అని, దెన్ ఐ రీకలెక్టెడ్ మై నాలెడ్జ్. సో అలా మనకి కాస్త కన్ఫ్యూజన్ వస్తుంది. సో దట్స్ వై వాట్ ఐ రికమెండ్ యూ, ప్లీజ్ ఓపెన్ యువర్ పాలిటీ బుక్ అండ్ ప్లీజ్ అండర్లైన్ అండ్ డైలీ ప్లీజ్ రిఫర్ టు దోస్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఇన్ ద యూనియన్ లిస్ట్. I'm not asking you to remember all the 97 subjects or more in the union list, but at least some of them, at least 10 you can remember. Your memory will allow to do that. So at least remember those subjects. They'll help you in the prelims examination and as well in the mains exam too. So in that context, what exactly article 246 says? Article 246 says simply what are the subjects that parliament can go on for taxation. What are the subjects that the states or the state legislatures can go on for taxation, and it distributes. We have generally, when it comes to the administration, the state administration is strictly under the control of the state government and the central administration is strictly under the control of the central government. For example, if you take defense, telecommunications, so ఇటువంటివి ఏమన్నా ఉంటే ఇవన్నీ కూడా సెంటర్ చేతిలో ఉంటాయి. బట్ వెన్ కమ్స్ టు ద స్టేట్స్ like state roads kani, state transport kani, state police kani, agriculture kani, they are strictly under the control of the state governments. So we have demarcated what are the powers to the state governments or what are the powers to the central government, what is the ambit of administration for the center and what is the ambit of administration for the state as well. So to support these administrations, they must also be empowered with some money, or they must also be empowered with some financial independence. That financial independence is also distributed according to the article 246. Ante parliament by it can tax on some subjects. So avi enti andulo untayi. State legislatures can make laws when comes to the taxation on some other subjects. Avi kuda ikkada untayi. So accordingly they'll do the taxation so that they can collect their money and they can use that money for the public services and also for establishing the infrastructure in the nation. Getting the point? So ala manaki list 1, list 2, list 3 7th schedule lo already unnai, which you know. List 1 we call it as union list, list 2 is state list, last one is concurrent list, where the central government and as well the state governments can make the laws, but if there is a clash, the union government law will always prevail. The next one is significance of taxation and what exactly the importance of taxation. The primary purpose is generating the revenue, that is called funds. Why? Because to spend it, right? So why it has to spend the money? Because government, to give the services to the people, it has to recruit so many employees. Generally we call them as government employees. ఇప్పుడు గవర్నమెంట్ ఎంప్లాయీస్ లేకుండా మనకు జరిగేటటువంటి రోజువారీ పనులు ఏవి అవ్వవు కదా. బట్ జనరలీ టు పే దెమ్ అండ్ టు అవైల్ దోస్ సర్వీసెస్ ద గవర్నమెంట్ హ్యాస్ టు పే ద మనీ. సో వేర్ ద గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ గెట్ ద మనీ ఫ్రమ్? ఇట్ ఈస్ ఓన్లీ త్రూ taxation. So the primary purpose of any taxation in any country or in any society is first to generate the revenue. Why actually the government generate the revenue? So that it will give the services to the people for the general welfare of the citizens. కాకపోతే ఈ మధ్యలో కొన్ని అవకతవకలు జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి. సో ఈ రెవెన్యూని సరిగ్గా ఖర్చు పెట్టలేకపోవడం కానీ, అంటే ఎఫెక్టివ్ వేస్ ఆఫ్ స్పెండింగ్ రెవెన్యూ లేకపోవడం, ఆర్ ల్యాక్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాపర్ ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ కానీ, ఆర్ కరప్షన్ కానీ, ఆర్ ల్యాక్ ఆఫ్ అకౌంటబిలిటీ అండ్ ట్రాన్స్పరెన్సీ. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ద కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ దట్ ఎగ్జిస్ట్ ఆల్ ద టైమ్. Getting the point? So these are the things that we must focus here. And one more thing is other purpose. One is to equitably contribute to the wealth of the nation. Why? What is this equitably contribute the wealth of the nation? For example, if there is a rich individual, if there is a very poor individual, we cannot leave the poor individual like that. So what we have to do? We have to take more taxes from the rich individual and we have to distribute these more taxes to the poor people so that they can be lifted out of the poverty. Because the government no need to care about the rich people. It will care. But the kind of care, if you demarcate between a rich person and a poor person needs more care, isn't it so? So that is called equitably contributing to the wealth of the nation. Ante first of all, inequality in the society has to be reduced. So to do that, what the government has to do, it has to take the more taxes from the from the rich people or the business, and it will distribute these taxes to the low income people so that they will be lifted out of the poverty, and so that wealth of the nation will be distributed. And not only that, to promote new industries, no need to say that, and to protect the local bodies. So that is another purpose, because local bodies, they are also in need of money. So generally local bodies, they have very few powers to get the money from taxes. మనం ఆ taxation powers తక్కువ ఇచ్చాం వాళ్ళకి. In Bharat అనే నేను, you might have seen this last ending part. If you see, he'll talk about the empowerment of local bodies. Of course, don't worry, this is not going to happen in India, at least in the next 50 years. So what is the significance of taxation is this: one is equitably contribution to the wealth of the nation and promoting new industries, and also local bodies protection. Why? Because until and unless you have revenue, or you give the revenue to the local bodies, they cannot function. Local bodies are the ones actually which are more closer to the people. So once the people find that the local bodies are not working properly, then there would be a big chaos. So that things should not happen. And when it comes to these types of taxes, so this is nothing but what? Classification of taxes. So taxes can be classified on different lines. One, it can be classified on the basis of volume. One is single taxation system. What is that? I will explain, wait for that time. Second one is multiple taxation system, and on the basis of its form or nature, one is direct tax, another one is indirect tax. For example, if there is a class, generally I will ask this question: what is meant by a direct tax and what is meant by an indirect tax? What is the difference between them? Generally most of the people, they give answer. If I am in class, I would have I would have asked this question to all of you. So I, of course, because most of you are bit graduated people, you might have given a different answer. But generally what people say is, direct tax is directly paid to the government and indirect tax is indirectly paid to the government. True, I am not denying, but to give this definition, we no need to prepare for civil services, isn't it so? An illiterate person who is sitting under a tree every time with a cigar in his mouth, they can also tell the same definition. What is meant by direct tax means directly paid to the government, and indirect tax means indirectly paid to the government. For that, we no need to prepare for civil services. So we have to paint some economy whenever such kind of questions, or whenever such kind of definitions that you are giving in the answer sheet. So direct tax and indirect tax, I'll give you a different definition once I come to that particular concept. So another one is on the basis of income or consumption. We can also classify the taxes as proportional tax, progressive tax, regressive tax, digressive tax. I will explain each one of them also. So first we will see on the basis of volume. So the first one is single taxation system. This concept of single tax, actually it was first independently proposed by thinkers like John Locke and Baruch Spinoza in 17th century. So especially the French physiocrats, they brought this term called import unique అనేటటువంటి ఒక పేరుతో తీసుకొస్తారు. So actually what this single taxation system is, it is mainly based on one tax, not on one person. Okay, it is mainly based on one tax or one kind of tax, especially chosen for a special properties like for example tax on land value. Okay, so these are the kind of things. So this single tax, once upon a time it was a big movement in 19th and 20th centuries. So the single tax, it simply says only one type of tax. So in the whole system, only one type of tax will be there. So multiple taxes will not be there. Only one tax will be there. But that one tax may be on one thing, or one property, or it may be on anything. Getting the point? So that is called as single taxation system. When it comes to the multiple taxation system, different taxes are levied on different items. So today the world is actually following with this. That is multiple taxation system. మనకు చూడండి, ఇప్పుడు ఎంటర్టైన్మెంట్ ట్యాక్స్, ఆక్ట్రాయ్ ట్యాక్స్, సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్, గూడ్స్ అండ్ సర్వీసెస్ ట్యాక్స్, రైట్? సో కస్టమ్స్ డ్యూటీ, ఇన్కమ్ ట్యాక్స్, కార్పొరేట్ ట్యాక్స్. సో వీ హ్యావ్ మెనీ థింగ్స్, isn't it so? So this is multiple taxation system. So modern economy, now they're using this type of taxation system. You just need to know about these things. Okay, you no need to worry about anything like okay, I have to remember all these things. These are just for your understanding. These things will never be asked in the examination, never and ever. But you just understand this. Okay, these type of things existed. Asal taxation anedi ela start ayindante ila start ayindi. This you must know. Getting the point? So in that case, as I told you, on the income, wealth tax, there are many types of taxation systems, and on the basis of income or consumption method. Yes, already this is done, and this is also done. On the basis of income or consumption method. One is proportional tax. So proportional tax is the mechanism in which taxing authority, which means the government, taxes the same rate of tax from each taxpayer irrespective of the income. This means that lower, middle or upper class pay the same amount of taxes. So this is called proportional taxation system. Okay, so what is exactly meant by proportional taxation system? So it is proportional to everyone. So it is the mechanism in which taxing authority same rate of tax from each payer. Okay, it is a kind of fixed tax, no change as the taxable base amount increases or decreases. So if you ask me what are the examples of proportional tax, for example, you say low income taxpayers, they would pay only 10%. Middle income taxpayers, they would pay more than 10%, like 30%. High income taxpayers, they would pay around greater than 30%, right? So best example is here. That is not the example. For example, if you take the sales tax తీసుకోండి మీరు, అంటే ఇప్పుడు దీన్ని జిఎస్టీ అని పిలుస్తున్నాం. దట్ ఈస్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ ప్రపోర్షనల్ ట్యాక్స్. ఇన్కమ్ ట్యాక్స్ ప్రోగ్రెసివ్ ట్యాక్స్ అవుతుంది. దిస్ ఈజ్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ proportional tax. For example, you see sales tax is an indirect tax. And for example, let's say you are buying one matchbox. Let's say its cost is 5 rupees. In this, government tax is 2 rupees anukundam. Okay, so if Anil Ambani is buying this matchbox, would you take more than 5 rupees? No, 5 rupees only you will take. Even though that he is a millionaire or billionaire, it doesn't matter to you. You take only 5 rupees. If the same time a beggar is buying a matchbox, again you take the beggar. So in the viewpoint of proportional tax, Anil Ambani and beggar both are same. I think no one in the world has made Anil Ambani as a beggar except me. So it was just a kidding point. So generally what I say is here, proportional tax, through the lens of proportional tax, everyone is equal. Everyone is equal. When it comes to the progressive tax, here the government charges more taxes as the income of the taxpayer increases. This is the example where you can use income tax. In one way you can say progressive tax is best related to income tax, and if your income is rising, then your tax proportionally will also rise. I will talk about the tax slabs. For example, if you are earning around 2 lakhs to 5 lakhs, you have to pay around 10% of tax rate. Ippudu slab rate and the 5% తగ్గించారు. And if you are earning more than 1 crore, you are supposed to pay 30% of the tax. And the more you are earning, the more the tax that you are supposed to pay. So it is a higher tax collected from the taxpayer who earns more. And if you are earning very less, then the lower tax will be collected. So that is what the progressive tax means. Progressively it will increase. The more the income, the more the taxes. The less the income, the less the taxes. So this is the difference between the proportional tax and progressive tax. Next one is regressive tax. In one way you can say regressive tax and proportional tax both are very much related. Regressive పేర్లోనే ఉంది, కష్టపెడుతుందని. So here you can say all the indirect taxes you can call them as regressive taxes. Why? Because larger percentage from lower income people than from higher income people. A regressive tax is tax that is applied uniformly. Best example is GST today. For example, if I am going to a restaurant and if Anil Ambani or Mukesh Ambani is going to a restaurant, both of us have to pay 5% on the total bill as GST. అంటే ఏంటి, myself and Mukesh Ambani both are taxed uniformly. So it's a regressive tax. Even in petrol, if the Mukesh Ambani is filling the petrol for his Audi car, if I am the filling the petrol for my Ford car, a small one, and definitely still there is no difference between the tax paying. Aina petrol ki ఎంత ట్యాక్స్, ఏ 30 రూపాయల ట్యాక్స్ కడుతున్నాడు, మొత్తం 80 రూపాయలు పెట్రోల్ ధర ఉంటే మీకు అందులో 30 రూపాయలు ఆయన ట్యాక్స్ కడుతున్నాడు, నేను కడుతున్నాను. సో దెర్ ఈస్ నో డిఫరెన్స్. సో హియర్ for rich people and affluent people it doesn't make any difference, but for normal people like poor class and middle class people it makes a huge difference. So regressive tax, it should be lower, but unfortunately in India indirect taxes are higher. Why they are regressive? If you increase the indirect taxes, rich people won't suffer, but the poor people, right, always suffer. Getting the point? So regressive tax is always a problematic one for the poor people and for the middle class people. Why it is regressive? Because it is applied uniformly to all the people. So he may be a rich person or he may be a poor person, but the tax will be same. That's why it is called regressive tax. So ఇక్కడ మీకు ఏం అర్థం అవ్వాలి? రెగ్రెసివ్ ట్యాక్స్ తక్కువ ఉండాలి, ప్రోగ్రెసివ్ ట్యాక్స్ ఎక్కువ ఉండాలి. బట్ అన్ఫార్చునేట్లీ ఇండియాలో రివర్స్. డిగ్రెసివ్ ట్యాక్స్, వెరీ rarely we talk about this, is the one in which tax is progressive up to a certain limit, after it is proportional, and it is a hybrid model anamata. Okay, and for example, till some point of time tax will increase, till some point of time tax will increase, after some point of time the tax will be same, right? After some point of time the tax will be same. And for example, initially if your income is increasing, then the tax will increase, but if you reach a certain point, then it will be uniform. So a graph goes like this. So this is called digressive tax. Okay, so these are all the 4 types of classifications when come to the taxes. So when comes to tax structure in India, now this is completely changed with GST. I will talk about this particular taxation structure in the tomorrow's class. So wait till tomorrow's class. Let us meet in the tomorrow's class and we will finish the concepts there. So thank you. This is the end of today's class. If you have any questions related to it, please ask me. Yes, certainly, as you people have asked, I think there is some missing video in the poverty. Nenu aa video chesanandi, as some people has pointed out to the sir, and sir has also asked me, and I have made a separate video. In 33 or 34th video, I think there is some issue when it comes to the poverty. I said like government approach అవన్నీ కూడా నేను చెప్పాను, కానీ నేను చెప్పాను ఆ వీడియో మరి ఎక్కడో మిస్ అయింది సంథింగ్. సో ఐ లుక్ ఆఫ్టర్ ఇట్, అండ్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ దేర్ దెన్ ఐ విల్ గివ్ ఇట్ బ్యాక్ టు యూ ఆల్సో. ఎనీవే, థ్యాంక్ యూ. దిస్ ఇస్ ద ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ టుడేస్ క్లాస్.